we got, then number 2, approve safe return to learning plan. Approve safe return to learning plan. All right, so what we have is our safe return to learning plan. There's copies of it out in the hallway if you haven't grabbed one. This is the same learning plan that we had when we had our, what do we call it, community cafe, our community cafe. There's been no revision since. I will just caution everybody that within the plan here, it does allow us to change it if MDE or local or national government changes the rules on us. So this is our plan right now. Yeah, we will walk through it. You want to walk through it? Tony, you gonna walk through this? Sure. All right.
You ready?
Yeah. Yep. I'm ready.
Okay. Do I need to be at the podium? Okay. All right. The Safe Return to Learn plan that we had to adopt last year is archived, still available on our school website, and that the last update at the end of last year about procedures and all that kind of stuff. So we took some of those older components that applied to what the community wanted in our community cafe, and this is what we have. We are slated to start September 7th in person for K-12 on September 7th. Right now, our recommendation to you is we will not require masks in schools. If you feel like you would like to wear one for your own personal protection and safety, we recommend that you do. We recommend it, but we're not requiring it. We will not ask for or proof of vaccination for anybody, staff or students. Sometimes people will give me that information voluntarily, but I don't log it. When I ask about, especially last year, do I need to quarantine, close contact, well, I'm vaccinated, okay. Really doesn't make a difference to me. I don't log that information. I don't keep it anywhere. So people provide it. I don't keep that at all. There's a couple going to school now, Susan, please. There's a couple different things that we have to do. And the 2 requirements that are mandated to us from the federal and state governments is masks on transportation, no matter what it is. It could be school related, athletic related, field trip related. We have to have masks on the bus at that time and for the duration. The other thing that we are mandated to do is to report to the state on if there's a positive case. That's what we are mandated to do. Go back up. On transportation, there was a couple different factors in this, but seating charts on buses were a high priority. It helps with discipline. It helps with identifying lost items on the buses, as well as having a seating chart for identifying families if there's a close contact on the bus. So those are things that we would like to do for seating charts. POD and social distancing, we will run as normal at the high school. Just like we normally have been. We're going to be on the block system again, AB days, different type of a schedule. You've seen that plan. You guys have approved that plan already. We'll talk about lunches later. Elementary school, we're going to limit cross-grade intermixing, and just by design of the elementary, that's how it works. You have your classroom of your kids, and that's what you go to music and arts and Phi-Ed with. The time that they will be with their grade level groups, we'll talk about it later about at lunch and recess. Next one down here is on contact tracing. It's a recommendation that you contact trace. I think there's value in notifying families if their child has a close contact, but as far as quarantining goes, we are not going to force a quarantine on anybody. It's going to be family choice on whether or not they want to quarantine. So I have a couple different, one thing that I had asked and suggested, and it was well received, is instead of a phone call trying to contact you repeatedly about your child and needing to be picked up and all this, if we were able to do a school reach. I know they were used frequently last year, but I think for a text and email combination in a mass general format, if people want to find more information, they can reach out to the school's nurse. But I have a couple canned responses. They're just for exemplary purposes. So I would put in the school messenger in the text format from HS. You only get 160 characters. Your child has been exposed to COVID. Please call this number to find out more details. That would be the nurse line, because they're going to have more details that they can share up to that limit. In the email form for notification, it's a little bit longer, but still not lengthy where I'm writing a novel here. So from the high school, dear parent guardian, a child at the high school has been exposed to a COVID positive individual on this date. At this time, we do not require that your child quarantines, but you may choose to do so. If you have further questions or need clarification, please call. And again, the nurse line at that building. There was some feedback at the community cafe about, well, I have triplets, and how am I supposed to know which one? That's when you'd reach out without getting too specific on the grade level and where it was. In a general mass format, I thought it was best to withhold and have families reach out if they have questions or clarifications. So at that point, the family has the opportunity to quarantine if they would like to. And they have to reach out and do that. They have to be proactive in that. So in an instance where we have a close contact, or if it's in the school, whether it's not home, or whether it's sister, cousin, wherever it is, the parent has to call to the attendance secretary. The attendance secretary then logs it into Skyward, and then the plan is hatched with the building principal on how do we provide services for this child. So it kind of takes a middleman out of there. Usually it was I'd find out, then I'd close contact, and then they'd call back, and then it would be the nurses, and then we'd have to contact with the attendance secretary, and then the teachers, and there was so many hands in the pot. As we handle COVID-19 positive individuals, if you're positive, we ask that you do stay out the full 10 days from your test date or from when your symptoms start. So you have the ability to test if you would like to. You don't have to test, but those that choose to, and it comes back positive, we ask that you do stay out those 10 days as recommended from the state and the CDC. So there's 3 criteria: they feel better, improvement of symptoms, it's been 10 days, and no fever for 24 hours without medicine that lowers fevers. That's a standard with any illness. We can't have people come back less than 24 hours without fever-reducing medicines. Go ahead and scroll down a little bit. Monitor health symptoms when you enter. If you're demonstrating symptoms of COVID, it's just more of an awareness thing than anything else. Distance learning is a plan that we're developing for those that are COVID positive. Because they're going to be out for an extended period of time, we still need to provide services for those students. If a close contact decides, and a family decides to quarantine, and we're looking at longer than 5 school days, there may be on a case-by-case basis, depending on how the time frame works out for distance learning. We are not providing distance learning for routine absences. You got the flu, you got influenza, some other illness. We're not going to provide distance learning at this time for that. Lunches are run as normal at the middle school and high school. In the ECC here, they're all going to be in the cafetorium. So that's all set up for those. Elementary lunches will be served in the cafeteria by grade level, and this is where we have a little bit more intermixing by grade level. That's how I had lunches when I was in elementary school, so it's kind of getting back into that regular frame of mind. They will go outside and have recess together, so there is intermixing among different classes, but then they go back inside, and now they're back with their independent class. Water fountains, hand-free bottle stations are still available. We've changed the filters. We've also turned back on the bubbler function because that touch-to-touch is less of a transmission. So those are back on for everybody, but we still encourage mineral water bottles. It kind of decreases in and out of the classrooms as well. Disinfecting and cleaning, this was taken straight from our what was presented. We have nightly cleaning of the buildings as scheduled. We are disinfecting of spaces routinely, wiping lunch tables in between lunches. Spray bottles and hand sanitizer available throughout the school and the classrooms. And then the question was about, what about the harshness of the chemicals? And Tony Duval talked to the brand that we use, the name brand QT3, which is a non-abrasive, and it's not really a skin irritant or respiratory. generally safe for those as approved by Hilliard. We're going to continue our cleaning procedures that we set out last year. Same type of a thing, same type of schedules, same type of diligence. Hand washing should always continue no matter what phase of life that we're in. Hot water for 20 seconds, and then hand sanitizer, soap and water when not available. Kid coughs into their hand, you go wash them, put hand sanitizer on. That's just a general cleanliness thing. And then try to keep your hands away from your face as much as possible. If a student becomes ill during the day, this is returning to normal policy here that we've done in the past. You're referred to the nurse's office for evaluation. The kid's miserable to going home. If they got a fever, they're going home. But you know, the one less common symptom, the two more common symptoms, that decision tree is a recommendation. It can inform parents about what they'd like to do, but if they're fine to go back to class, we're sending them back to class. Mapping at the elementary and ECC level follows the same procedures as the elementary school. The incident team, this is a smaller group of people talking about potential learning model changes. And this is in there from last year as a holdover this year, should something catastrophic happen. So we're looking at county, community, school-related data that's going to affect our learning models. We met a couple different times last year. If there's an immediate change, or if there's a massive issue over the weekend, this is the same verbiage as it was last year, just updated with Dr. Wehrkamp's name, and that is Board Chair Randy Hackett, Incident Team Member Russ Gerrits, and the Superintendent, Dr. Christine Wehrkamp, can bring a recommendation for an emergency school board meeting if this group can't meet. Our COVID Advisory Committee, that's a little bit larger of a group to talk about improvements to what we're doing, what's gone well, what can be improved, all those types of things. We want to keep our schools open, safe. Please partner with us for a safe learning environment for everyone, which includes staying home when you're sick. We have an updated list of contacts with numbers, direct line numbers to our phones here at the school. Royalton Voice has been available, and it has been already. School Messenger, I know people are played out with those things. As I'm doing phone calls last year, a lot of them went to voicemail rather than me talking to people. So we used to be like 80% phone calls, and I get a hold of people, 20% voicemail. It flipped at the end of the year, 80% voicemail, 20% contacting. So when we have meetings and such, we'll utilize more School Messenger. That was a feedback of how do we get to more people, how do we get more notification rather than just post in the newspaper, post on the website. School Messenger is a pathway. So you may get more of those, but they're more informational things as well. So in-person model that we're going to be starting right away. Hopefully we stay in for the entire school year. We're going to create as much student space as we can, but understanding that it's not always feasible to do that based on what you're doing. If there's a close contact situation, you can choose again. Families got to call in, communicate their desire, and then we could calculate return dates. So then that happens, you take a return date. If it's long enough, the principal gets involved. What's our concurrent instruction plan? There is no opting into concurrent instruction on a voluntary basis. We had a bunch last year where I'm gonna be out for the rest of the term. I'll come back fresh at the beginning of term 2. We're not offering that. So we're in school. If you're ill, you call in, something like that. There's no full-time distance learning option at the elementary, middle, or high school levels. We have to apply for provisional approval to use distance learning as a medium to deliver instruction. That came out to us last week.
Right, so I'll be attending a webinar to learn more about provisional option and if we had some catastrophic situation.
Right. So we haven't done that. We're learning about that. I'm in on that as well. Hybrid and distance operate the same as it did last year. So there's no change in how we're going to structure those things. Should we ever have to, and hopefully not move to scenario 2 or 3. That's all.
I have a question for you. I don't know if I should bring it up or not.
Okay.
So we're not offering distance learning to anybody that's sick unless they're going to be out for a long time. But, you know, if they're going to be out for 10 days, is that a HIPAA violation?
Well, it's the type of illness. I
I
guess.
know, but it's gonna be pretty obvious, right? Or,
I think I'll learn more after tomorrow's webinar because again, it's a provisional.
I know this is all new, and I can see that, you know, sometimes when we get like, when we have such small sample groups in the district, we can't use that information because everybody's gonna know who that is. And I'm just going through all the options in my head, thinking, well, you know, that came to my head, I'm sorry, and I'm trying to throw a wrench in anything, Russ.
So I am the same, kind of similar, so I know right now this plan we just talked about COVID, but I'm just thinking, are there advantages, so, you know, COVID's all over and done with, a child does get something, right? That they're all, yeah, leukemia, or who knows what. Home,
We do have homebound instruction. for
okay,
Children that went through that situation.
All right, that's all I just,
We'll check into that.
yeah, I'm sure that everybody's in the same boat here, just. That's the only question I have. Is there any other questions?
Was this statewide that there's no distance learning, or is it?
You'd have to apply, in the spring we offer that option if you want to get to some provider. It's quite a long application, but, this district probably didn't apply like many small districts because it's challenging to find staff to just be a assistant teacher when they only have 2 students. So, many districts do. Now, however, with the governors, no longer having executive order, if we do have some sort of situation with this COVID issue, we have the, MDA's come out with these other options, provisional blended learning models, we still have to go through an application process, not as extensive as the other distance learning schools, so I'll be attending that webinar. So that's tomorrow.
Or distance learning students know this from last year, that's the change for this year? Are the students aware of this change?
I haven't sent out any notifications. I'll be sending you.
Oh, yeah, I know students that did that.
I would say that if we approve this tonight, we should out there. So. Any other questions for Tony?
Actually, I have one about the contact tracing. Is that a statewide thing as well? They're not doing the same processes as last year?
Well, it's
But that's quite different.
recommended that you contact trace. It's recommended that you take people out for the safest path is 14 days. We approved in January, the 7 and 10 day. So it's just a recommendation, not to quarantine.
So in theory, only the COVID positive person may be out and everyone else will remain.
That's correct.
That could happen.
Because it's a choice.
And that's the new guidelines.
All right. Any other questions?
No, I did, I'm just looking at HIPAA stuff. It doesn't look like it generally applies to schools. So if we approve this and we find out otherwise, can we amend it?
Yep, yeah, it's
Okay.
in here.
Okay,
Because we may get changes from the state and federal
okay,
over time.
I think the way that most of the stuff goes is there'll be a legal challenge and some judge will make a rule. So I'll have to change gears and stuff. And then it'll end up going to more courts. All right. I guess we're done with 220. All right. So everybody's had a chance to look at the Royalton Safe Return to Learning Plan 2021-2022 dated what is it, August 9th. 2021. Would somebody like to move this? I would like to move it.
Actually, sorry, one last question. What if there's parents that are unaware of the distance learning aspect being removed? What options do they have if they come back and find this out tonight, that this is the plan and they don't have alternate options? For those parents?
Well, I mean, we didn't have distance learning prior to last year. The only reason we had it was because of the pandemic. So it shouldn't be,
Right, but if there's parents still concerned with it and wanting that option and finding out
they have to look.
they
at it
don't
on
have that
school
option.
or homeschool, I would assume.
And there are online schools.
I think that's why we wanted to do the emergency or the meeting today, so we can get it out there quicker
Yes.
than waiting till the 23rd.
Right. All right, so this relative safe return to learning plan was moved by Director Hackett. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. This is a resolution. So. I'll just read it. That way it's done. So this is, so everybody's seen this, the date, one dated today. This is the resolution that refers to that. So Railton Public Schools and ISD 485 health and safety measures for the 2021-2022 school year resolution. Whereas Minnesota statute section 123B.09 vests the care, management, and control of independent districts in the school board, and whereas the superintendent of schools district 485 is responsible for the management of the schools, the administration of all school district policies, and is directly accountable to the school board, and whereas the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Minnesota Department of Health have determined that the COVID-19 pandemic is currently ongoing and may remain ongoing for an unknown time. And whereas the Minnesota Department of Education has issued and may continue to issue written guidance for Minnesota schools on educational issues related to COVID-19. And whereas the Minnesota Department of Health has issued and may continue to issue written guidance for the Minnesota schools on public health issues related to COVID-19. And whereas the superintendent and the administration of the school district have conferred with the school board regarding COVID-19 health and safety measures, the current CDC, the MDE, and the Minnesota Department of Health requirements for each and other relevant information. And whereas based upon the collective consideration of these factors, the superintendent has recommended to the school board that the approved safe return to learning plan with any and all updates be implemented at the commencement of the 2021-2022 school year. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Railton School Board of Independent School District 485 as follows. Section 1. The superintendent is hereby directed to implement the safe return to learning plan as discussed tonight, following health and safety measures to open the 2021-2022 school year. Section 2. The superintendent is hereby authorized, after consultation with school board chair and notification to the school board, to select and implement different health and safety measures for the school district or any specific school buildings without school board action if the superintendent reasonably believes that the prompt implementation of different health and safety measures is necessary, and that constraints of time and public health considerations render it practical to hold a school board meeting to approve the implementation. The health and safety measures selected and implemented by the superintendent shall continue in effect unless and until the school board, in consultation with the superintendent and appropriate school district staff and public health officials, deems it the best interest of the schools and its students to implement different health and safety measures. Section 3. The superintendent will provide regular updates to the school board meeting, the school district. Section 3, the superintendent will provide regular updates to the school board regarding the school district's efforts to implement COVID-19 related to educational and public health guidance issued by the Minnesota Department of Education and the Minnesota Department of Health respectively. So, any other discussion? If not, Director Hobson, will you call the roll?
Director Bowman,
Aye.
Director Garrett,
Aye.
Director Hackett,
Aye.
Director Hofstad, aye. Director Lang. Not here. Director Rory.
Aye.
Okay, let the record reflect it goes, passes 5-0-0. There are no other things that are on the agenda for a special school board meeting. So with that, I will call for somebody to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second? Been moved by Director Bauman, second by Director Garrett to adjourn the special meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned. All right. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess and we'll start 5 minutes. So it'll be 6:32. We'll start.
Scooter ground.
Yep, just go right around here. I suppose. Well, you can't start. I know.
Yeah, he doesn't watch the camera.
They have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
You guys- yeah, you guys are-
Somebody- It's so different than what's ever been before. Hope the battery don't die.
I am old school.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Do you want it still live though?
Yeah, it can be live. We don't have to.